Special monthly compensation is separate from compensation that you get the percentage. It's for conditions that aren't accounted for. And so we will kind of go through and discuss the most common conditions we see. We're not going to go through all of them because there are a lot. So let's start with SMC-K.
SMC-K is compensation for veterans who have service connection for certain disabilities involving the anatomical loss or loss of use of certain body parts, or when there is impairment of certain senses.
What do you see most often with SMC-K, and how would you describe what it is?
Yeah, so I would say, as far as SMC-K and loss of use goes, the number one that we're looking at there is erectile dysfunction, because we'll say one reason is that it is unfortunately a complication of a lot of other conditions, you know, neurological and otherwise.
Psychological.
And a complication from drug use, or not illicit drug use, but medication drug use. So it comes hand in hand, unfortunately, with a lot of the other conditions. So typically the actual dysfunction is going to be rated at a 0, right? But then there is that separate and additional special monthly compensation added on.
I know it was like a little over $100. With cost of living changes, that may have changed, but that will be a separate video. Other conditions that we see there are any reproductive losses. So if a woman loses her ovaries, if she loses her uterus, has to have a hysterectomy, I think it's greater than 25% of breast tissue loss. So if you have to have a mastectomy, double mastectomy, things like that, you will get an additional payment on your monthly compensation, as well as loss of use of any extremities. You know, you can't use a hand, you can't use a foot. Those are all encompassed into SMC-K, and when you have multiple, then that is when you go into the higher levels of SMC, which we will get to. Like you said, erectile dysfunction is the most common, and a lot of times veterans don't like to talk about it, but we need everyone to know that it is extremely common. Medication, heart medications, hypertension medications, psychologically, secondary to PTSD, we see it, diabetes, all kinds of conditions. It's extremely common, and if you're being affected by that, you definitely should be receiving that compensation.